Welcome to World War II Solitaire channel and another playthrough video. Today I'm gonna go ahead and play the fifth scenario of Airfix Battles, the Introductory Wargame. This fifth scenario is played on the map called Checkpoint. We have two objectives which are already occupied by two allied units. We have some rough terrain here, and we have 3 pieces of edge cover per player. The allies, this is the last scenario with predetermined troops, and the allies will start with 2 AT guns, 2 half-tracks which are included in those units, a Sherman sergeant, and 2 infantry squads with a lieutenant each. And as you can see, this is a special kind of scenario because usually only the most furthest squares away will be starting zone, but in this map the allied starting zone is like this, while we see here on our Axis forces the starting zone is as usual, and the starting forces of the Axis are a half track, and this half track has an infantry unit loaded in it, and that's going to be a squad of Panzer Grenadiers. And then we have a Panzer IV sergeant, we have a normal Panzer IV, we have a squad of Grenadiers, and then we have a captain with an intelligence officer. So before we start the game, I thought it would be nice to have a quick look on all of the units. We start with the the Sherman M4A2 Sergeant, which we see represented on this counter. The Sergeant Sherman has an armor value of 4, and again we use the hit dice to track the armor. His war dice value is 5. He has 40 movement points. He has 2 different kind of guns. He has a 75mm gun which can fire on a range of 5. He can fire with 3 AT dice or with a high explosive value of 6 if firing against infantry or half tracks. He has a Browning machine gun with a 5 also in distance and 4 in value, so he gets to fire 4 dice. He also has the leadership ability. In case he would be pinned, he can have a easier time to rally his unit. The value is 3, and since it's also an officer, he has a 1 in play value and 1 in hand value. Then we also have 2 lieutenants and 2 infantry squads. And the infantry squad is attached to the lieutenant unit, and we have 2 of these in this specific scenario. The lieutenant has a 5 in war dice value, he has a 2 in movement value, 1 in play value, 1 in hand value. He has a rifle just like the infantry squad, fires just exactly the same with the same distance, which is 4 squares. He does have the nice leadership ability, which gets +1 to war dice roll for trying to rally his unit, if that specific unit would be pinned or retreating. The infantry squad I am sure that you're familiar with, but we're gonna go through it anyway. It consists of 10 soldiers, and 2 of these soldiers have bazookas. They have a 5 in war dice value, 2 in movement value, like all infantry, the movement value that is. They have rifles and light machine guns. They will hit they will roll 1 war dice for each soldier alive in the squad, and the range is 4. They also have bazookas against tanks, and there's 2 bazookas, and they have a 1 in 80 attack, meaning you will roll 2 dice since there's 2 of those bazookas, and they have the 2 in range. A nice ability they have is the American Firepower, which lets you roll an additional war dice when making attacks against enemy infantry. Then you also have the Motorized perk or ability, which lets you buy a transport which is a red unit, without having to use armor points from your commander, and those are the points here which you use to build your own army with when you're playing some specific scenarios. Last but not least, we have 2 half tracks and 2 80 guns, and I'm gonna show you one of them. They're the same. This is a special thing. If they are on the same square, they will count as the same unit. So basically the 80 gun is attached to the half track, and the 80 gun can only move if it's attached to the half track. So we see the half track here, and we have our 80 gun here, which has 3 infantry counters. And basically the 80 gun has only an armor of 1. It can be targeted by high explosives, and it can be targeted by machine guns. And if it receives 1 hit, it's knocked out. It does have a nice 50 cal Browning machine gun with a rather nice range of 5 and a machine gun value of 4. Just like I believe all machine guns have the same machine gun value. The war dice value is 5, so it will hit on 5 or higher. It has a 4 in movement value. The ability it has is the transport ability. May carry an infantry squad unit or one TO 180 unit. And the 80 unit we have here, it's a 57mm 80 gun, and it consists of 4 men with one 80 gun. It's soft skinned, just like the half track, and what that means is when you look in the chart for different fire, you can understand what can target this unit. It has a 57mm 80 gun with a range of 5 and an 80 value of 3. You see that both of these units are quite cheap, so they can be quite effective, I guess, for the small price they present. The gun has a shield, as you can see. If you look closer here, it has a shield, and it gets the ability gun armor. Has defensive shield that provides its crew with a cover save from the front only. This gun can turn for free, and if the enemy basically is firing from the front, you will get cover saves for all of these guys. Otherwise, it has the motorized, just like the infantry squad. You may buy a transport without using an armored choice. Basically, you don't have to waste, since it's a red unit, you don't have to waste one of those red tabs on a commander. And those are the units of the allies in this scenario. So let's go to the Axis. The first Axis unit we're going to present is the Panzer IV Sergeant. It has the exact same values as the Sherman Sergeant, with a 5 in war dice value, 4 in movement value, 1 in hand value and play value, since it's a commander. It has 4 in armor, which is represented by the hit dice, as you might remember. A 75mm gun with a range of 5, 80 has a 3 value and 6 of high explosive value. Also has the MG34 with a 5 in range and a 4 in value. And this it's represented by this counter in this game. Then we have the normal Panzer IV, and the Panzer IV has the exact same values as the Panzer IV Sergeant. The only difference here is that he doesn't have obviously any play value or hand value, and he doesn't have those tabs on the side which lets you buy units in a make your own force scenario. Then we have the captain together with the intelligence officer, which is an attachment to the captain. The captain has a 4 in war dice value, 2 in movement value. He has an assault rifle, which may be re-rolled when firing and missing when firing at enemy units at an adjacent square. He also has the hero ability, like all the captains, which means that if he gets hit, he gets a cover save using his war dice value. So he's a tough guy to kill. Then we have the intelligence officer. He has a very good war die value of 3. He also has an assault rifle, which he gets to reroll if he misses when firing at an adjacent square. He also has a special ability stealthy. Enemy may not play interrupt cards to react to this unit's action. So that's quite powerful. And we have the standard unit, 1 squad of grenadiers with the Axis guys. I think it's a very nice unit considering the price of 2 stars. It has a 5 in war dice value, 2 in movement value, like all infantry. It also has rifles and light machine guns. Works just like the other infantry. You get to roll 1 war dice per surviving crew member or squad member. Then it has a nice Panzerfaust with a range of 2 and 1 in AT value. And something very nice, it does have the grenades. A very powerful weapon when firing at infantry if your own squad is low. For example, if this guy would be alone here, he would only get to fire 1 war dice if firing his rifle and light machine gun. But with the grenade, which has a 5 in high explosive value, he would actually get to roll 1 dice for every enemy. So if it was a full, let's say it was one of my infantry squads with a lieutenant, that would be 11 soldiers. So he would actually, this lonely guy would get to roll 11 dice, hit on 5 or higher, and there would be no cover saves in case the enemy is in a square cover or behind a edge cover. So I think it's a rather good unit considering that price. And then we have the German half-track, which is in stats identical to the American one with its MG34 instead of the Browning, the same war dice value and everything. Has the same abilities also. We can see on this specific half-track we have a 5 here, and the reason why that's over there on it is because it's actually carrying another unit, which are the very good Panzer Grenadiers. And the Panzer Grenadiers themselves are just like normal infantry counters, and they have a nice, here you see the price is rather large, but they have some nice abilities. The first thing is they have a lower war dice value than normal infantry with a hit on 4 or higher, so that's a 50% hit ratio. They have assault rifles with a range of 4. They get to reroll once for each miss when firing at adjacent squares. They have the Panzerfaust, which is identical as well, comparing to normal grenadiers. But then they have the Panzer Grenadier ability, which means they gain a free move action after dismounting from a transport. And they are motorized, so you may buy a transport without using an armor choice in those build your own army scenario. Differs a little bit from the 80 gun. If you remember, I told you before, the 80 gun can share its square and be part of the half-track unit. They are going to be considered attached. But that's not the case with infantry. The infantry cannot be on the same square as the half-track, and they can't be the same unit. They can be loaded into the half-track, and then you are just going to use the unit's ID number on that one and put these guys off the board. And then once you dismount, you would say, okay, I'm going to dismount here in front of the half-track, and so on. So a little bit different. And those are the units of this scenario. And we're going to go ahead and roll to see if I'm going to play as the Axis or the Allies. And it's going to be like normal, a 1 to 3 I'm going to play as the Allies, 4 to 6 I'm going to play as the Axis. So it's a 1, so I'm going to go ahead and play as the Allies. So we have our battlefield in front of us with all of the units that you have seen. And again, we are playing the 5th scenario. It's called Breakthrough to St. Lo, or Counterattack to Stabilize the Front if you're playing as the Germans. You can see here that the deployment zone is a little bit different than it normally is. The allies, which I'm playing as, have a much further out excuse me, deployment zone than usual. The victory condition on this map is either hold both objectives at the end of round 5, or if if one side doesn't hold both objectives, score most stars at the end of round 5. There's 5 rounds, obviously. The map is checkpoint. There's 3 pieces of edge cover per player, and the last introduced rules are in this scenario, which are the advanced rules for towed guns and transports and infantry. And you can see here that it's the last scenario with predetermined forces, those that we have went through. And I'm going to go ahead and read you the briefing. Come here and look at the map, Wilson. From this village there's open country behind all the way to St. Lo. We're going to throw everything we have from forward from here tomorrow and blow the crowds to hell. Hold the village till then, Captain, and watch out for panzers. And we have the Axis briefing. Müller, I have some good news. High Command is planning to launch an armored counterattack in your section or sector. The Allies think they are close to defeating us, but we have a few surprises left for them, 9. Throw back the Americanas with the aid of our panzers. You should have no trouble at all. And you can see that we have the destroy enemy tanks, 3 stars each, bonus. And for the Axis, it's going to be take objectives, 3 stars each, bonus. So I start by drawing up to my hand. I have a lieutenant with 1 in hand value. I have 2 lieutenants with 1 hand value. And then I have the Sherman sergeant with 1 play value. And then as always we have a 1 in base play value. So I draw 4 cards and I may play up to 4 cards per turn. And now we're going to go ahead and roll for initiative to see who is going to start the game. If it's going to be me or the Axis. And if this is the first time you're watching the video, when I roll for initiative, I roll for the allies with the light green, for the Axis with the dark green. The highest number wins and gets to start. And we roll a 1-1, so that's going to be a tie, so we need to re-roll. We roll a 1-3 with the 3 being the light green, meaning I get to start. Now I'm going to go ahead and use Rapid Advance with my Sherman Sergeant. Rapid Advance, let 1 vehicle unit may move with 1+ movement points and then fire once. He has a 4 in movement value, so I'm moving here. 1, 2, 3, and actually I'm going to go ahead and stop there, only using 3 of my movement points. And I'm going to go ahead and fire at the half track containing those nasty grenadiers or panzer grenadiers. And I have the Sherman, which has, if you might remember, the machine gun, and the machine gun I believe is always a 5 in range and 4 in value. He has a 5 in his war dice value, meaning he hits on 5 or higher. So I get to roll 4 dice, 5 or higher is a hit. And I was quite lucky, hitting 3 times. Doesn't really matter though that I did, because the half track only has 1 in armor, meaning it will blow up on 1 hit. So the half track is a goner, and now you might wonder what's going to happen to the infantry inside of the half track. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to start by taking the destroyed half track, and with its card, this is unit number 6, and it's worth 1 star, so it's destroyed, meaning I'm going to put it over here on my side to remember to count that as one of my victory stars. And then we have our Panzer Grenadiers, which are loaded into that half track, and they are going to end up where the half track was destroyed. And they are going to take now a high explosive check, which is a 5 according to the rules. And the high explosives, if you remember, is rolling 1 dice for every soldier. There's 10 soldiers. So I'm rolling 10 dice and they are going to be hit with 5 or higher. And there's no cover saves even if they would have been in cover. So we see here that we get 5 hits. There's 5 5s or higher. So we are removing half of them, their tokens, and putting on their card. And that's 5 guys remaining in the squad, and they took 2 or more hits and they were reduced to half their strength. So they're going to have to do 2 morale checks, and that means they have to roll a 4 or higher to pass. They roll a 2 and a 6, so they manage to pass one of their morale checks. So these guys are going to go from their A-OK side to their pinned side. So they need to be rallied before they can perform any kind of action in the future. So I say I am quite happy with how my Sherman performed this time. So it's going to be the enemy's turn, the Axis turn, and they draw a dropping lead card. And the dropping lead card, according to the chart, is choose an enemy infantry or vehicle unit that is in range. Fire at the weakest of your infantry or vehicle units. If we go back to we have a target table, we can see that targets on objectives or carrying intelligence dossier are priority. And since I have 2 units on objectives, those guys are going to be priority. These guys have range to the objective. This guy has range to the objective, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this guy also has range to an objective, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we are going to roll to see which of these squads are going to go ahead and fire on the guys defending the objective. So we're looking for a 4, a 2, or a 1. We roll a 2, meaning that unit number 2 is going to activate. Unit number 2 is the normal Panzer IV. And he's going to go ahead. This guy has a 75mm gun he can engage with, which has a high explosive value of 6, or he has a machine gun with 4 in value, and that's going to hit on 5 or higher. So we're going to go ahead and see if the German Panzer wants to fire with his machine gun or not. The cannon is going to be 1 to 3, machine gun 4 to 6. And we roll a 2, so he's going to engage with the cannon. And he's going to engage this unit here. There's 11 of those guys. And the cannon has a 6 in high explosive value. So he's going to get to roll, since it's high explosive, 1 dice for each unit. So it's going to be 11 dice. I only have 10, so I'm going to re-roll 1 miss. He's going to hit on 6 or higher. So basically he's just going to hit on 6. We have 2 hits so far. I'm re-rolling 1, and I was lucky there, it's a 5. So out of these 2 hits, since these guys are in square cover, they get to roll to see if they can cover save. They have a 5 in war dice value, so they need to roll a 5 or higher to save themselves. They roll a 4 and a 2, so unfortunately for them, they don't manage to save any of the units, so they lose, the soldiers, so they lose 2 guys, and that's squad number 2. And we are going to have to take a morale check now, since they took 2 hits, and they will pass on a 5 or higher. They roll a 3, meaning these guys didn't pass their morale check, so they are going to go from A-OK to pinned. And once again, it's going to be my turn to play. And I'm going to go ahead and use Lightning Strike. I'm going to go ahead and use this unit over here. And we can see Lightning Strike. 1 unit may move with +2 and then fire once. I'm going to go ahead and move with them 1, 2. Let's see, even over here, because I want to have a firing range of those grenadiers. I want to try to get rid of them while they are pinned, since they can be quite troublesome later in the game. I'm firing with my infantry squad, which is attached to a lieutenant. So there's 11 of these guys, unit number 3. They're firing with their rifles and light machine guns, meaning they have 1 dice per soldier, and they are 11, so they get 11 dice. I only have 10, so I'm going to reroll 1 miss. They hit on 5 or higher. They're firing at these grenadiers, or panzer grenadiers. And quite shabby roll, I think. I hit with with 3 hits. I'm actually going to get 2 rerolls now, because I have the infantry squad. They have the American firepower. The unit gains 1 extra hit dice or war dice when making any attack against infantry. So I'm going to get 2 rerolls. 1 for the lieutenant in the squad and 1 for the American firepower. 5 or higher to hit. And I get 1 hit, so that's nice. So a total of 4 hits on these 5 men. So it would have been nice with 1 additional hit. We're going to go ahead now and force these guys to take 2 morale checks. They need 4 or higher to pass. They passed their first morale check, and they actually passed their second as well. So I was hoping to get rid of them by decreasing them from pin to retreat, because they don't really have anywhere to retreat to. That would force them to actually rout, and I would gain that unit. But anyway, they passed their morale checks, so once again it's the enemy's turn. And we're gonna go ahead and draw a card for the Axis, and we draw Sweeping Advance. We look at our AI chart for Sweeping Advance. Fire with 2 enemy infantry units. Choose a target that both can shoot if possible. Otherwise, choose 2 different targets, choosing the weakest first, then moving towards cover. So we have 2 infantry units which are in range to the enemy. This guy over here, number 3, he's not in range, he's 5 squares away. So it's going to be number 4 and 5, which are going to be activated. And we're going to start by firing with number 4. And number 4 is going to fire his light machine guns. It's a normal grenadier squad. He's firing at my unit here, which are in cover. And the grenadier squad, they have 10 men, so they are firing with 10 dice, and they hit on 5 or higher. And they get 3 hits. Not very good, but decent. My guys are in square cover, so they get to try to do a cover save on 5 or higher, and they actually managed to do that with 2 of their dice, so they are only going to take 1 casualty. However, they took 2 more than 2 hits. They actually took 3 hits, so they are going to have to take a morale check for that, and they pass on 5 or higher. They roll a 3, so they are failing that morale check. And if we look at unit 2 here, they are already pinned, so they are now actually down to retreating. And this is, again, they retreat. I'm going to go ahead and retreat over here behind this edge cover, which I strategically have put here. And actually, according to the rules, if you go out of line of sight to any enemy, or if you enter cover, you will go automatically back to pinned. So these guys are automatically back to pinned from retreating. However, they did lose a soldier. And then we have 5 here who is pinned, and he's going to try to fire on these guys. But before he do that, we have to see if we can rally him from pinned to A-OK, and he needs to roll a 4 or higher. He managed to roll a 4, so his unit is now from pinned to A-OK. He's just 1 guy, so we are going to go ahead and roll 1 dice. Whoops, that dropped. Rolling 1 more, and with that 1 dice he actually managed to hit and score 1 casualty on that squad. Okay, according to the chart, it was the second paragraph. Otherwise, choose 2 different targets, choosing the weakest first, then move towards cover. Our guys here are already in cover, so now this guy needs to be in cover, and the closest cover is going to be over here. So he's going to go ahead and move with 2 movement value over here. And that's it for the Axis turn. My turn once again. And actually, before I move to my turn, I am going to go ahead and use my interrupt card. Fire. 1 unit may fire during an enemy move. This fire must target the enemy unit that moved. And guess who I am going to target? And I'm going to target that with my tank. And remember, the interrupt cards are different to the special orders and basic order cards. You can use interrupt cards on a unit that has already been activated, like my Sherman tank here, for example. So I am going now to fire, and with my Sherman Sergeant, I'm going to go ahead and use the Browning machine gun with a 4. So I get to roll 4 dice, and I will hit on 5 or higher, targeting that last Panzer Grenadier guy. And look at that, I roll a 6 and 2 1s and 1 2. So I actually take this poor guy out. That's squad number 5. And we can see here again that those are the more powerful Panzer Grenadiers. And they are worth 4 stars. So I have now, with the half track, destroyed a total of 5 stars worth of enemies. But the enemy can still get me back since I'm here. My sergeant here is in a dangerous position. But we will see what happens. And now actually I get to play. That was the enemy phase. That's when you use your interrupt cards. So now it's my turn. I have 1 card left. Hold the line. And I'm not sure if I'm going to save it or if I'm going to try to activate a unit. Actually, I believe I am going to go ahead and move up my my AT units. So I'm going to go ahead and move them. I'm going to use the basic order on them. And I'm moving them up over here. Let's see, I'm going to put them here. And I'm just unhinging this one, so it's unhinged from the half track. And it's going to be facing, let's see, yeah, it's going to be facing that direction. So we're going to go ahead and draw for the Germans again. And they draw an infantry assault. Interesting. We'll look at the AI chart, infantry assault. Choose an enemy infantry unit within assault distance of 1 of your infantry units, including the infantry assault bonus, and assault that unit using the infantry assault card bonus. We can see here that we will get 1+ to our movement points. The infantry have 2 in movement value. This is the only guy who hasn't been activated, but he would require 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get into assault distance, so that's not going to happen. So what we're going to do now instead is, when you can't complete an order, you will use a default order. Choose an enemy infantry unit, move as far as possible towards the nearest cover, then fire. We have this infantry unit here, and he's already in cover. He can't fire, so we go to the second paragraph, which is otherwise choose an enemy vehicle unit, move into firing range, and fire at your weakest unit. You remember that units in objectives were priority, but I don't have any of those units left. So the weakest units now is going to be the Sherman with the 4 left in armor. So he's going to be the weakest units. It's going to be, let's see, number 1, because number 2 has already been activated, and he's already in firing range. He doesn't have to move within firing range. So he's going to go ahead now. He has a 3 in AT value, so he gets to roll 3 dice. He needs to roll, since he's firing on my front armor, he needs to roll, or that doesn't matter, that only matters how many dice he gets, but he gets 3 dice since he's firing at my front armor. But he needs to roll a 5 or higher, his war dice value, to hit. And he rolls a 1, a 2, and a 4, so he misses. So I think this game I am quite lucky. It's my turn, but I've used 4 cards, and I played all of them that I had in my hand. So I'm all done. It's gonna be the enemy's turn again. So we draw a card. We get It Ain't So Bad, so that's the first interrupt card for the Axis. And remember, the Axis will get to bank one interrupt card and play at their earliest convenience. And for every captain and major they have in their force, they will get to bank one additional interrupt card. They have a captain in their force, so they will be able to bank 2 interrupt cards in this game as long as the captain is alive. We draw a new card, and we draw Commando Assault. We go to our AI chart. Choose an enemy vehicle or infantry unit that is in assault distance of one of your infantry units. I can say right away, the only unit of the enemies now that hasn't been activated is the captain and the intelligence officer. He's not in assault distance to any of my infantry units, so he's going to go ahead and use the default order. The default order is choose an enemy infantry unit, move as far as possible towards the nearest cover, then fire. This guy... Here, he's already in cover, he can't fire even if he moves, so he is gonna stay right where he is, and that's gonna be the end of the first round, and we are moving on now to round number 2. We are doing a cleanup phase, which means remove all of the used cards. And remember, this game will end on round 5, or earlier in case that one side would annihilate the other side. And I'm going to go ahead now and draw 4 new cards. And I get 2 interrupt cards, rally and move. And I get 2 special order cards. I don't think they're very nice. They're not very offensive. They are quite defensive, which... I think playing against the AI bot, I think it's better to be aggressive. We're going to go ahead and roll to see who starts. And this time I'm going to start as well. I'm going to go ahead and use my Sherman again. And I'm going to go ahead and use the Stay Frosty card. I'm going to use the second paragraph. 1 unit may fire with 1+ on each war dice roll when rolling to hit. And I'm going to go ahead and engage these guys over here, the captain and the intelligence officer, and I am engaging them with my Browning machine gun, 4 dice. I need a 4 or higher to hit. I roll 2 hits, and these guys are in cover, so both of them get to roll for cover save, and they need... let's see, the intelligence officer need a 3, so we're going to start with him. He rolls a 6, so he passes his cover, and the captain needs a 4 or higher. The captain rolls a 3, so he doesn't pass. He's hit, but he does have the hero save ability. If hit, always gets a hardcover save using his war dice value. So we are going to go ahead and roll once more. He needs a 4 or higher to pass. He rolls a 6, so he managed to pass. Okay, both of them were hit, so they are going to take... They took 2 hits. They are going to have to take a morale check. They need, I'm guessing, a 3 or higher, since the intelligence officer is a 3, and he passes that. So my attack was not successful, and we are going to go ahead now and play for the Axis. And we draw a card. We had another interrupt card. It ain't so bad. Already had one of those. Then we draw a dropping lead. We go to our AI chart, dropping lead, and choose an enemy infantry or vehicle unit that is in range. Fire at the weakest of your infantry or vehicle units. My weakest unit is this, and the units which are in range are the tanks. So we are going to roll to see if tank number 1 or 2 is going to engage. So we're looking at, we get a 1 directly, nice. So this is the guy who's going to engage my tank. He's going to engage with the AT gun, which has a value 3. So he gets 3 dice to roll. He hits on 5 or higher, so he gets 2 hits on my tank. We are going to roll for penetration. He has a 4 now in armor value, so he needs a 4 or higher to penetrate. He rolls a 2 and a 3, so luckily I make it. the Sherman is not damaged. But since he took 2 hits, he's gonna have to roll to see if he passes his morale check. He needs a 5 or higher. He rolls a 2, so that means that he's now gonna be pinned. However, I have an interrupt card. Play on a pinned or retreating unit after resolving any set of morale checks for that unit. Automatically rally that unit to A-OK. So my soldier or my M4 sergeant is not gonna be he's not gonna be pinned because I saved him with that interrupt card. And again, that's the end of the German phase. It's now gonna be my turn to play. I'm gonna go ahead and use the dig in card now, and I'm gonna go ahead and use it as a basic order for this 80 gun that we have down here. And this 80 gun, which is unit number 4, is gonna attack the Panzer Sergeant, which has a 5 in war dice value. My 80 gun has a 3 in 80 value, so he gets to roll 3 dice. He will hit on 5 or higher. He rolls a 6, so he gets 1 hit. The tank, however, has a 4 in armor value, so I need to roll a 4 or higher to penetrate the armor. I roll a 5, so I managed to penetrate the armor, but unfortunately, and I could have thought about that, but unfortunately the enemy it ain't so bad, so 1 vehicle regain 1 hit dice, so he's immediately repaired. Very unfortunate for me, but I forgot about the enemy having those cards, so I could have done a defensive move instead, would have been smarter, but it's always easy to be efterklok. I don't know how to say that in English, it would be after smart. Anyway, it's gonna be enemy's turn again. And we're gonna go ahead and draw a card for the enemy. We draw Open Up. I don't believe that's a bad one for me. Open Up, choose an enemy vehicle unit that is in range of one of your vehicles and one of your infantry or AT units and fire at both. Otherwise, anyway, he's gonna fire at both. He's in range, this guy is in range for my tank, my AT and my infantry. So he's gonna fire at the tank, but we're gonna decide for him if he wants to fire at my infantry or AT. So we are looking for a 3 or a 4. We roll a 3, so he's gonna engage the infantry. So let's start by engaging the tank. Number 2 is engaging my tank with 3 dice. He needs a 5 or higher to hit. He rolls 2 hits. Again, my Sherman has a 4 in armor value still. He needs higher to decrease the armor. And look at that, he managed to decrease it from 4 down to 2. Very unfortunate for me. And now he also gets to engage my infantry, and we are going to roll to see if he's going to use his 75mm gun or his MG34. 1 to 3 is going to be the gun, 4 to 6 is going to be the MG2, so he's going to use the gun. These are infantrymen, and let's see how many of them there are. There seems to be 10 of these guys. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, there are 10 of them. I don't understand how it could be 10 of them. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that's unit number 3. Let's see, there should be 1 more soldier since they have a lieutenant with them. So I must have forgotten to put one of the tokens out there. Anyway, since they are 11 men, he is firing his cannon or 75mm gun with a 6 in high explosive value. So he gets hits on 6s, and he will roll 11 dice for the 11 men. I only have 10, so I'm going to reroll one of the misses. That's funny. Okay, so we get 2 hits on these poor infantry lads. And now we are going to do morale checks. My Sherman took 2 hits, so he's going to have to do a morale check. He's passing on 5 or higher. He rolls a 3, so he doesn't pass. He's pinned now. And then these guys took 2 hits. So they are going to have to do a morale check as well. They pass on 5 or higher. They roll a 3, so they don't pass. They're pinned now, meaning actually that all of my units are pinned except for the 80 guns. All of the other units are pinned right now. Very bad situation for me. And it's my turn, and what I'm going to try to do is to rally these soldiers here with a basic order. That's squad number 3. They need a roll of 5 or higher to pass the morale check, and they roll a 1. So that's it for me. I've played all of my cards this turn, and it's going to be the enemy's turn once again. And we draw a card for the Axis, and we draw Mechanized Assault. We go to our AI chart, Mechanized Assault. Let's see, there it is. If the enemy has an infantry unit in a transport, they don't any longer, I blew them up. Otherwise, choose an enemy infantry unit with an AT weapon, attempt to move it to the flank or rear of one of your vehicles, and then fire at it. We have these guys, and they have a 2 in movement value, so they can move over here. That's not going to be the flank is here. So that's not going to be possible, so we go to the default order instead. Choose an enemy infantry unit, move as far as possible towards the nearest cover, then fire. Otherwise choose an enemy vehicle unit. The vehicles have been used. We have these 2 infantry units, but none of them can fire against any of my units. They don't have any range. So these 2 guys are going to pass their turn, and this is going to be the end of turn number 2. So we are now moving on onto the 3rd phase of the game, and we're going to go ahead and clean up the cards which have been used. And I see that I'm in trouble because, like I said, my tank is pinned, my infantry squads are pinned. The only squads which aren't pinned are the 80 squads. And I'm going to go ahead and draw 4 cards. And I draw some nice cards, hoping to do some good with them. And we are going to go ahead and roll dice now to see who's going to start. And I thought I was going to get to start, but we rolled the same. And yes, yet again I get to start. Maybe I can save this. I'm going to go ahead and try to use the rapid advance. One infantry unit may move with +2 and then fire once to rally my 2nd squad over here. Let's see if we can pass the morale check. They need to roll 5 or higher. We roll a 1, so unfortunately they are still pinned, and I wasted that card. We're going to draw the card for the enemy. They get the Lightning Strike. We look at the AI chart, Lightning Strike. Choose an enemy infantry unit. Attempt to move within range of the nearest target, including the Lightning Strike bonus, and fire. The bonus gives 2+ in movement. So we have 2 infantry squads. We are going to see if we are going to activate number 3 or number 4 of the Axis. So we're looking for a number 3 or 4. Every other number. Number 3 or number 4. Number 3. Okay, number 3, and that is the captain and the intelligence officer. They are going to try to move within assault distance, +2. And let's see that lightning action again. Nearest target within range, so I count that as within firing range. So they have a 2 in basic value, 1, 2, 3, 4. So they are now going to go ahead and engage my infantry squad over there, and we can actually see here because they could engage also this squad. So we are going to roll to see if they are going to engage squad number 2 or 5. 5. Okay, so they are going to engage the AT guy. We are rolling 1 dice per enemy since they have different war dice values. So this is the captain, this is the intelligence officer. So we start with the captain, which has the 4 in war dice value. He's firing his assault rifle. He rolls a 3, so he misses. And then we are going to fire with the intelligence officer. He has a rather low war dice value 3, so he's almost always going to hit 3 or higher. Here also 5, so he managed to hit. So that's 1 casualty to squad number 5, which is 57mm 80 gun squad. And that's it for the enemy turn. It's now going to be my turn again. And I just got a nice here situation presented to me, which means I might turn this around, since I'm having these guys all pinned and he's down to 2 in armor value, but I have a nice high value target over here, and I have a half track. And what you easily forget over here is you think, oh, I just have the 80 gun, but actually the half track is quite nice as well, since he has the Browning machine gun with quite a long range, and the machine gun value is 4. So the half track here of squad number 5 is gonna engage the captain and the intelligence officer with this card, Stay Frosty. 1 unit may fire with +1 on each war dice roll when rolling to hit. So he needs now, he gets 4 dice and he needs 4 or higher to be able to hit the captain and the intelligence officer. And I rolled 2 hits, very nice. So first of all, let's take away the intelligence officer. This guy is a gunner, finally. And then we have our captain left, who also received a hit, but the captain again has the hero ability. If hit, always gets a cover save using his war dice value. So we're going to go ahead and see if he can save himself. He needs a 4 or higher to do so. And look at that, he rolls a 4, so he managed to save himself. Although he's going to have to take 2 morale checks, 1 for 2 hits or more, and 1 for being reduced at half strength, the unit. He needs a 4 or higher to pass the morale check. He rolls a 4 and a 1, so he passed 1 of the morale checks, but the other one he failed, so he goes from A-OK to pinned. So I am starting now, it feels like, starting to get things even on the battlefield, but it's the enemy's turn now, so we see, I think he's going to try to take revenge on me. So we draw a card for the enemy, and we draw on the double. Let's see, we have to look at the chart. Where's on the double? On the double, if there's a square cover or an objective that can be reached with a triple move by an enemy infantry unit, then move towards it. And the grenadiers, these guys have already been activated, so the only infantry unit left to activate are the normal grenadiers. So they are going to go ahead with a triple move. They can easily reach this objective. So the enemy has captured one of the objectives, and that marks the end of their turn. So it's going to be my turn again. I'm going to go ahead and use the on the double special order, move 1 infantry unit using 3 times its normal movement value. And I'm going to try to reactivate, remember number 2 here, my Sherman, and the number 3, they are all pinned. So I'm going to go ahead and try to activate him. He will activate by rolling a 5 or higher. And again I rolled 2, so I failed my activation, and that means that I wasted the command card, and again it's the enemy's turn. And we draw a card for the Axis. We draw Hold the Line. We go to our AI chart, Hold the Line. Choose an enemy or AT unit that is in range. Fire at the weakest of your infantry or vehicle units. We only have tanks. The enemy infantry unit have already been activated, so we are going to go to a default order. We don't have any action points left for the infantry, but we have armor, so otherwise choose an enemy vehicle unit, move into firing range and fire at your weakest unit. My weakest unit is the Sherman now. He only have 2 hit points left. We're going to roll now to see if we get to activate number 2 or number 1. It's going to be number 2. So number 2 is going to go ahead and fire now on my Sherman with 3 dice, hitting on 5 or higher, and look at that, he gets 2 hits. I'm toast. The only way I can survive is if he rolls 2 ones. They always get my tank, and they always get the last 2 with a 2 and a 1. Because you look at this here, he goes with the 2, he goes down to 1 in armor value, and then with the 1 he's destroyed. So unfortunately now my Sherman tank has been destroyed. I give him to the enemy to indicate that he's a gunner, and that means losing him, I'm going to have 1 less in play value and 1 less in hand value. And that will not happen directly, it happens during the cleanup phase. So I have 1 lost card. I've tried activating both of my infantry units but failed. This guy has been activated and this one hasn't. So this is the last guy I can activate, and I'm gonna go ahead and do so. Let's see what I want to do. I'm gonna go ahead, I think, and fire with... Should I fire at the tank or the infantry? That's a good question. I'm gonna move, because they still have a rally card, it ain't so bad. So it doesn't really make sense for me to attack. So I'm gonna go ahead and move with this half track. He's gonna go ahead and move over. Let's see, where do I want him? He has a 4 in movement value. So 1, 2, 3. Let's see, he's here. 1, 2. Where should I move? Because I want to get so I can shoot at this guy. I'm going to move in, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So he's moving all the way back here. And that also means that he's now a separate squad. He's not part of this AT unit. So he gets his own squad indication number. So he's now squad number 1. He's been activated. And that means, again, he's a separate squad to the AT gun. And that's the last of my card. I don't have any more cards now, and that means the last card now is going to be the enemy. And we draw a mechanized assault. We can't do this order because it means infantry units. So we go to a default order, choose an enemy infantry unit. They don't have any unactivated infantry units. So we go to the second paragraph, choose enemy vehicle unit, move into firing range and fire at your weakest unit. My weakest unit now, let's see, is going to be the half track over here. So he's going to move within range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he needs to move over here. And I would say that he would face his enemy. That would make more sense to me. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he now has distance to the 80 gun. Sorry, not the 80 gun, the half track. And we are going to roll to see if he's going to use his cannon or if he's going to go ahead and use his machine gun. 1, 2, 3 is the cannon, 4 to 6 is the machine gun. He's going to use the machine gun. And the machine gun has a value of 4. And he will hit on a 5 or higher. He rolls a 6 and a 5, so he rolls 2 hits. The half track only has 1 in his armor value, so this half track has now been destroyed, and the enemy has now destroyed units worthy of 4 stars. So I'm leading, I'm still up at 6, but I'm having some trouble, I feel like, since the enemy also have the objective over here. Anyway, that's it for this turn. The enemy have activated all of their units, and I have used up all of my cards. I have lost a commander, which is quite bad. And we go now from round number 3 to round number 4. And remember, this is going to end at round number 5, so there's 2 more rounds to play. And we are going to start by rolling 2 dice to see who's going to start. and a 1 and a 1, so it's a tie. 5 and a 3. I'm lucky this game I get to start. And I'm gonna go ahead and draw my cards now. And please notice that I will draw 3 free cards instead of 4, since my Panzer Sergeant has been taken out. And well, not super good cards, but I think I can manage somehow with them. And I'm gonna go ahead and use a basic order again for my half track over here. And I'm gonna try to get that elusive captain. I'm firing with my Browning machine gun, which has a machine gun value, let's see, of 4. So I get to roll 4 dice. I will hit on 5 or higher. Whoops. And look at that, I get 2 nice hits on that captain. But again, he has the hero ability. If hit, always gets a cover save using his war dice value. So he's gonna get to do that. 4 or higher, he's gonna get to save himself. Ooh, and he rolls a 2 and a 3, so I'm afraid that we have to say goodbye to the German captain. And what the guys are gonna do now, well, they have this card, it ain't so bad, but infantry unit regains up to 2 men. And he can't regain because he's just 1 alone, so he's going to go ahead and die. And he's worth 3 stars, so I'm thinking I'm doing some good progress over here. I'm hoping so. Anyway, it's going to be now the Germans' turn, and they only have 3 units left. They have the 2 Panzers, and they have the Grenadiers, but a bunch of my units are pinned. They've taken out my tank. So it's not so much only, it's still quite dangerous. And we draw a card. And we draw on double for the enemy. If we look at our chart on the double again, that's going to be when if there's a square cover or objective, an infantry unit is going to move towards it. But we already have the only surviving Axis infantry squad over there. So he's going to do a basic default order instead. Choose an enemy infantry unit, move as far as possible towards the nearest cover, then fire. He's already in cover, but he's gonna get to fire. He has fiery range 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3. So he has fiery range of all of my units. So we are gonna get to roll to see who he is gonna target. And it says 2. Do we have a 2? Yes, we have 2 over there. So he's going to go ahead and target squad number 2. These guys are Grenadiers, and they are within 1 square, so they can actually also use their grenades now. And if they do, I'm not going to be able to do any cover saves. Or they can use their rifle and light machine guns. So we are going to roll to see which weapon they're going to use. 1 to 3 light machine guns and rifles, 4 to 6 grenades. They roll a 3, so they are going to go ahead and use their rifles and light machine guns. They get to roll as many as they are soldiers, and there's 10 of these guys. So they get to roll 10 dice. And they will hit on a roll of 5 or higher. And they manage to score 2 hits. My guys are behind cover, so they get to roll a cover save. And they roll a 5 and a 2, so they are just going to take 1 hit. But unfortunately, they took 2 regional hits, so they have to take a morale check, 5 or higher to pass. They roll a 4, so they don't pass, meaning they are going to have to retreat. So they have to go 2 squares away from the enemy, but actually here we receive cover from that. What all these things from this unit, and that means these guys, I always forget these unit numbers, these guys can stop and they go from retreat automatically back to pinned. And this guy is unfortunately dead. And let's see, that's it for the enemy phase. He managed to kill 1 of my infantry units. I have a few cards left. Let's see what I want to do. And I'm gonna go ahead and use my infantry assault, trying to rally both of my pinned infantry units. And you can see here, infantry assault, fire with one infantry unit, and then one different infantry unit may fire, then move. So I'm gonna start by just trying to fire with squad number 2, trying to rally him. And this guy will rally on a 5 or higher, but since we do have the lieutenant actually, he's gonna roll on a 4 or higher. He's gonna be able to activate because of the leadership perk. I think I might have forgotten that earlier, but that's my fault. So anyway, we'll see here 4 or higher. He rolls a 3. Then we have this unit and also a 4 or higher to activate. And he rolls a 2. So unfortunately none of them are activated. And I wasted the card once again. And let's see, do we have this is the only unit we have left really, which we could perhaps use later, but we will see. It's gonna be the enemy's turn again, and they draw a sweeping advance. We go to our rulebook here for sweeping advance. And let's see, sweeping advance. Fire with 2 enemy infantry units. So I don't have that. Otherwise, do the same with 2 vehicles. So let's see. Choose a target that both can shoot. Okay. I think his line of sight is blocked, but yeah, both of them could shoot at number 3. So both of these guys are going to go ahead and fire on 3. And we are first of all going to roll to see which weapons they're going to use. The first one, we're firing with number 1. 1 to 3 is the cannon, 4 to 6 is the machine gun. He's going to shoot with the cannon. With an HE value of 6, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 soldiers. He's going to get to shoot with 9 dice. And that's going to be a reroll. Okay, he gets 1, 6, so that's 1 hit on squad number 3. That's the third hit they receive. Yeah, and then we have the second tank, and he's also, we're going to see if he's going to use his machine gun or not. Yes, he's using his machine gun, and he's going to roll 4 dice and hit on 5 or higher. He hits with 1, so the 11-man infantry squad is now down to 7 soldiers. And that concurs the end of round 4. Since I don't, or actually I have a card left, but I don't. The question is if I should use it. I have a counterintelligence card. I could fire with the AT gun on this tank, but even if I would damage him, he would be able to repair himself with the, it ain't so bad. I'm gonna give it a try. The AT gun is firing at the Panzer Sergeant with 3 AT dice using a basic order. He needs a 5 or higher to hit. He misses with all of them. Useless. Useless, this guy. Anyway, that concurs the end of round 4. So we are now in round number 5. And that's going to be our last round. I'm going to go ahead and clean up here. So we are in round 5. I'm going to go ahead and draw 3 cards. We draw a fire, a counterintelligence, and a rolling thunder. Not much use for me now. We're going to roll to see who starts. And this time actually the enemy is going to get to start. So what we're going to do now is just draw a card for the enemy. They draw a rolling thunder. We go to our AI list. Rolling thunder, choose 1 or 2 enemy vehicles, move towards the weakest of your vehicles and fire. If you have no vehicles, move towards the weakest of your infantry units and fire at it. Okay, so we're gonna choose these 2 guys, and our weakest unit is gonna be actually this guy over here, and this guy can move 1, 2, 3, 4, and he's gonna be in range to that unit. And this guy can't move all the way there, but he can move 1, 2, 3, 4. let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, he can move over here and he can fire at that unit, which is basically almost as weak. So we're gonna go ahead and fire with this guy first, and we're gonna see if he's gonna fire with his machine gun or high explosive. He's gonna go ahead and fire with his machine gun, firing 4 dice. Oops. And just 1 hit. So one of these 80 guys took a hit. And since it's a 5-man squad, it's a 4-man squad actually. I don't think you count 5 with the half track, even though it's part of the unit. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a morale check. He needs a 5 or higher to pass it. He rolls 4. So this 80 gun is now pinned. Lots of pinned units for me, unfortunately. Let's see. We're gonna go ahead now and fire with this guy on that 80 gun. Rolling to see if he's gonna use his machine gun or not. Nope, he's gonna use his high explosive. And he rolls with 4 dice, hitting on 6 or higher. And he got 1 hit on that 80 gun. And actually, what I forgot, we have 1 hit here and then we have 1 hit there. They get to roll for cover or save since they are engaged from the front. He actually doesn't, he's hit. But this counts as the front. Let's see, number 4, so I remove it on the right one. So he gets a roll for a cover hit. He needs a 5 or higher to pass. He rolls a 2, so he doesn't pass. Unfortunately, he's also hit. Let's see, that's number 5. There we go. Okay, so that's it. The Germans have activated their 2 tanks, and now I'm gonna see what I can do. Not quite sure what I should do, but I am gonna go ahead and try to move. See, this infantry squad number 2. I'm gonna go ahead and use a counterintelligence as a basic order on squad number 2, trying to activate it. I need to roll a 4 or higher to do so. I roll a 2, so again I'm in bad luck. It's the enemy's turn. They draw a commando assault. They go here, choose an enemy vehicle or infantry unit that is in assault distance of one of your infantry units, including the movement bonus from commando assault, and assault that unit. Okay, we're gonna do an assault, and these guys are the only guys who aren't been activated, and they get, let's see, 2+ movement value, and rough terrain costs only 1. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. They're actually gonna be in distance to assault all of my different units, but I do believe it says they should assault infantry unit. Yes, it's going to be one of my infantry units, either number 3 or number 2. So we'll see here. Number 3 or number 2. We're looking for a 3 or a 2. So they are going to go ahead and assault unit number 3. So if you watch previous video, you know that assaults are a little bit special. They work in a special way. The assaulted unit gets to do a defensive fire. So that would be my unit number 3. But that's only if they are A-OK. And these guys are not A-OK because they're pinned. So they are actually not going to get a defensive fire action here. These guys are going to go ahead and assault. And again, they are full strength. They are 10 of them. So they are firing 10 dice and hitting on 5 or higher. And we see here they get 4 hits. Quite nice. And that leaves only 3 soldiers alive. And now I get to do a counter assault, and this is also, it's a little bit strange. You get to counter assault even if you are pinned or retreating. The defensive fire only if you're A-OK, but the counter assault always, even if you're retreating. Whoops, I think I kind of screwed the map over here. Anyway, so they are 3 guys remaining alive, so they are going to fire 3 dice and hitting on 5 or higher, so they managed to get 1 hit. Okay, so I've taken 4 hits on this poor squad, squad number 3. They're going to have to take 2 morale checks since they took 2 or more hits and they are reduced to half strength or less. They pass 1 of their morale checks, they lose 1, so they get to retreat 2 squares away, and they're moving over here. And now they are also considered retreating, so quite bad. 1 more morale check there that they fail, and they're going to be routed. And then we have these guys, they took 1 hit, so they go from 10 to 9, but I don't have to do any morale checks, obviously. And that's it for the German player now. Actually, he has managed to activate all of his units in this turn, which is the last turn. I have 2 more cards, and I think I have won this. They have done quite a lot of damage, but not enough. Let's see, I have my squad number 3 here. I can try to rally them and try to move them, so I'm going to go ahead and try to move them into the objective. So I'm using a basic order, and I will try to rally them, and I need to roll a 4 or higher. I roll a 2, so I fail. It's going to be my turn again, since the enemy don't have any units left to activate. They have activated all of their 3 remaining units. I'm using a command card, the basic order, and let's see what I should do. Number 4 is going to go ahead. Let's see. I'm not sure if I should fire perhaps at the tank. Actually, what I'm going to do is number 5. Yeah, I might as well just use it on number 5. Number 5 is going to go boof, 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 and move over here for fun. There's no reason for me to fire anyway, because the enemy still has the interrupt card. It ain't so bad. So they can still save any casualties they get. So anyway, I have used all of my cards. The enemy has activated all of their units. And this is the end of round 5. And that means the game has ended. Thank you for watching to the end. We see here on the victory condition, either hold both objectives at the end of the round, no one does this, or if one side doesn't hold both objectives, score most stars at the end of round 5. Okay, so we can see here that the allies are going to get 3 stars for destroying enemy tanks, and the Axis are going to get additional stars for each objective they hold. I haven't destroyed any of their tanks, and the enemy isn't holding any of the objectives, so it's going to come down to destroyed units. The enemy has destroyed a half-track worth 1 star, and they have destroyed Sherman M4A2 Sergeant worth 3 stars. So they have managed to win 4 stars in this scenario. I have managed to destroy a half-track worth 1 star, and I've also managed to destroy an intelligence officer who's also worth 1 star, so I'm now up to 2 stars. I have been able to annihilate their captain, which is worth 3 stars. So then I'm actually up to 5 stars. So I've actually won already. But then I've also managed to take out this legendary Panzer Grenadier squad, which is worth 4 stars. So the total of my stars is, let's see, 4, 7, 8, 9 stars versus 4. So I've done a big victory. But I have to say it was close. You see here my infantry squad there with the lieutenant, and my AT squads were in trouble, and all of them were pinned. The only unit here that is not pinned is my half-track, and my squad over here squad number 4, the 80 gun number 4. These guys are pinned. Now these guys are actually retreating. These guys are pinned. They are pinned. So, yep, I would call it a close call. Anyway, guys, that's the end of scenario 5. I hope that you have enjoyed this video. Please do comment, like the video, and subscribe. It helps a lot to give my channel some more views, because the more you connect with me on the videos, I think the more higher chances that it's going to be viewed as a suggestion to other people watching similar videos. So please do help me out, and as always, thanks for watching and see you soon.